Welcome back to another episode of Wicked Hot, everybody. This is John.
And Kevin.
And we've got another week of movie mayhem with Wicked Hot. But before we get into that, Kevin, as always, we post on the Instagram. What do we post? Who guessed it? Who got it?
We posted a picture of Mike Myers, not Michael Myers. Mike Myers in Wayne's World holding a can of Pepsi. And that obviously is some product placement right there. And that's what we're covering, product placement. Your brother actually got it within like minutes of it being posted. Was like, product placement.
Okay, good.
But this one was an easy one. I feel like this one was way too easy.
So yeah, guys, this week we are doing product placement and consumerism in film. The format for this week, we'll be doing a little bit of a forward about product placement in movies. Each of us will be going over two sets of movies. The first two being consumerism criticisms, and the latter two are product placement. So stick around, guys, and let's get into another week of Wicked Hot Movie Mayhem.
Wicked smart, wicked cool, wicked fucking stupid, whatever the fuck. Something wicked.
I'm baking like a toasted cheeser. It's so hot here.
My boy's wicked smart.
Cause the boy is hotter than hot. He's hot, hot.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
There are some things I do want to touch on because when putting products into movies, I feel like they can't all be treated equal. Like for instance, there's tons of Apple products within many movies, and sometimes they're much more prevalent than just being subtly in the background.
Yep.
And you're really forcing things when they're on screen. No one ever uses them. And I'm specifically thinking of, just as an honorable mention, Andrew Garfield does this in Amazing Spider-Man when he uses the number one search engine, Bing, to look things up.
Yeah.
If you're fucking looking shit up on Bing, no. That's 100% product placement.
Yeah. Anytime I see anything that's not like the norm in as like product placement, I'm like, that's obvious product placement. Nobody would use that shit.
Exactly. I mean, I understand why they do it, because product placement for lesser known or lesser used items, services, I mean, it can be showcased within a film, and it's able to kind of hit multiple demographics that a company would want to go after. So, like in this example, for Spider-Man, I mean, you have kids who, for whatever weird reason, like Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. First of all, that's the first thing.
That's the first thing that's wrong with the movie.
That's the first thing that's wrong with the movie. They may think it's cool that Peter Parker uses Bing over Google like a madman for some reason. So
maybe they thought, maybe Microsoft was like, you know what? Maybe if like a young kid like Spider-Man is using Bing, kids will get on the Bing.
Kids will get on the Bing thing,
the Bing wagon. But no, nobody's getting on the Bing wagon.
I actually like the Bing thing. I don't know why. I feel like if they ran with that, like, you know how they say Google this.
Yeah.
That
guess just sounds like a knockoff. It sounds like the knockoff to Google this. Or
did you Bing thing it? Did you Bing it?
It just doesn't sound.
It doesn't
right.
sound right. It really doesn't. But yeah, I mean, if they see it, and then you also have adults that if maybe they're like, oh, that kid's smart. Maybe I should smarten my life up. And
maybe that's what they were targeting, was the old people taking their kids to see, and they're like, what's Google? What's Yahoo? And it's like, Google, Yahoo, Ask Jeeves, Ask, and then Bing.
Ask Jeeves. But yeah, that's the ranking there is pretty accurate, honestly. It's funny because it just coincidentally, Sony is actually the worst about this, because in their cinematic universes like James Bond, we'll get into that later, by the way, and Spider-Man, everyone in these worlds only use the latest in Sony technology.
Yeah.
It's like that, and that's Vios, Xperias, PlayStations, Blu-ray players, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the list goes on. If there's one Sony product, it's going to be in those fucking movies.
Yep. Every time I see a Beats by Dre, I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, for the big budget ones, I don't really get it, but I know that product placement helps with indie films to get get funding a lot, because they're like, well, you know, they're going to need money, so we might as well give them the opportunity to use this product, and we'll give them some scratch.
Yeah.
It's funny because in the late 80s, Disney was actually charging $20,000 to $50,000 per ad placement, depending on how it showed up on the frame and the usage of the ad within the film.
Wow. That's a lot, especially compared to what happens today, like how product placement is done today.
Yeah, so I'm sure you have some experience with this.
Yeah, so usually how it's done today, I know like before modern times or before the internet age or the YouTube age, it was strictly money for, your product placement. Now it's like basically exposure. It's just like, oh, you want to have a generic laptop in the scene? Like nobody wants to see that. Like everybody knows that's some bullshit, and it just like takes you out of it when you see it.
Right.
So like,
I hate the silver sticker over the Mac.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Like rip that shit off.
That's
like,
the worst.
Fuck you. No.
So how it usually works now is just like, hey, we need a laptop. Does anybody want to do it? And they kind of put out feelers to like, Apple, Sony, Samsung, and if anybody responds, they're like, yeah, we got this laptop coming out. You can use this. And it's usually like a handshake agreement, like cross promotion type thing, where most of the time no money is even exchanged. It's just kind of like an agreement. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So there's like specific departments that only handle like basically the advertising within the film.
It's usually the media department. So like when they when a production reaches out to have some products in something, they usually reach out to the media department, and the media department kind of determines if the placement is right for their product. So like if somebody has a laptop and they're like, oh my God, this is a piece of shit. Like obviously Sony doesn't want their laptop to be that laptop. So they kind of like are going back and forth with productions about how their product's going to be used and where it's going to be used and how much screen time it's going to get. And there's actually firms that target or track all of the advertising revenue that would have happened, or that, all the stuff that you get from exposure, and they track all that stuff, and they have very accurate numbers based off of the exposure that brands get based off of these handshake agreements.
Right. Shit, that's fucking crazy. Well, before we get into our films, I just need to say one thing. Transformers can just go and fuck themselves with the Autobot or Decepticon that turns into a Beats pill speaker or a fucking Xbox or a Mountain Dew machine or a Mercedes-Benz logo. I mean,
it's so ridiculous. Like that is probably the worst product placement like driven movie ever. It's so blatantly just like in your face. Like every time I watch a Marvel movie, like an Avengers movie, and I see like, the Lexus or an Iron Man movie, and I see the Audi.
The
like,
Audi R8.
Fucking A. Like every time I see one of these movies, I know I'm going to get like the car placement. With Transformers, it's like so much worse because it's like everything in the movie is something that was like bought.
Yeah, God. Well, off that, I'm just going to jump right into our films. And the more I think about this film, the more I appreciate it. I will say that this movie is not for the casual viewer, but it may be one of the most blatant criticisms of consumerism to date. And I'm talking about John Carpenter's They Live. I know you haven't seen this movie, but do you know of this movie?
I do know of the movie, and I have seen some bits and pieces of the movie.
Okay, good.
I know it's a weird fucking movie. It's a weird movie. Like, it's weird.
It's a weird movie. It's definitely not one you can just watch once and judge it. And
I wouldn't even know what subgenre to put that movie in. Sub-horror genre.
I mean, it's kind of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but not trying to be scary. I mean, I guess they're trying to be scary in a consumerism kind of way.
Yeah, that and the people are fucking that he sees through the glasses.
Yeah.
Those give me nightmares.
Yeah, those are really creepy.
The people with no skin?
Yeah, they're just blue skeletons.
Yeah.
So this film came out at an interesting time because it was filmed during the last half of the Reagan administration, and it was released in theaters on November 4th, the weekend before the presidential election. So for people who haven't seen the movie, I'm sure you're all wondering, why is this important? And to give you the brief synopsis, it's like a working class guy. Like the hero is a working class guy. He's a construction worker.
It's a blue collar guy.
Yeah, named Nada, which is played by Roddy Piper.
With a sweet mullet.
He's got a sweet mullet and a sweet flannel shirt tucked into some real 80s jeans.
Real tight jeans.
Really tight. But yeah, he's down on his luck, and he finds a pair of sunglasses that shows him all the subliminal messages that aliens have planted in when they're trying to, I guess, take over the world. The most famous of these images, or for people who haven't seen the movie, is the way the aliens look, like Kevin and I were discussing, when you're wearing the sunglasses, and the images depicting words like consume, obey, reproduce, etc., etc. So John Carpenter has flat out admitted that the aliens who represent rich yuppies taking over the working class society are Republicans, which is... I just love that he like flat out said that. I think it's pretty hilarious.
Talk about alienating half of your audience.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird for a filmmaker. Probably more, half or more.
Yeah, true.
As a filmmaker, to be like, these people suck.
Oh,
and
I don't know.
It's like half of America.
I don't know if you know John Carpenter, but this guy does not. He like just doesn't give a fuck about anything.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just weird.
It is strange. But I mean, the movie it's based on consumerism, but it's also extremely politically charged. Again, during the time of 80s consumption, during Reagan administration, the film isn't as blatant as saying buy this or that particular product. Rather, it does a deep dive and analysis of the rising wage gap. And I think this movie is not only for its time, but ahead of its time, just because we kind of still have that same thing going on. And all the aliens in the movie that are disguised as humans, they're the typical yuppie looking individuals. They're, for the most part, at least in the movie, they're white, they're well dressed, and their teleportation device is like a Rolex, like a super expensive, an expensive watch. And when you compare that to our main characters, which are Nada and Frank, they're two construction workers. They're just, trying to make ends meet. One guy's doing it for his family. The other guy is just like believing in the American dream. Also, they have plaid shirts. And I mean, that's if there's one thing that screams working class hero, it's a fucking plaid shirt and some jeans.
Of course. Yeah. Because the first thing you think of is lumberjack. And what's more working class than a lumberjack?
Or badass or manly.
Yeah. Exactly.
But they are out of the ordinary guys. They're trying not to get crushed by affluent alien regime, and they're just going after them because they're basically able to see messages that they're just so desperately trying to cover up. It's like they're completely aware of the fact that they're going after people's need of consumerism, right?
Yeah.
Also, the fact that they live is filmed and based in LA is the perfect backdrop for a consumerism critique.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from New York, but LA much more, just because it's the city of fabrications. It's where people go to become rich and famous, to make something out of their lives. I don't know, that they think they may be lacking. And this point plays into the film perfectly when the aliens recruit some of the lesser fortunate people who, quote unquote, seen them and offer them a deal with the devil. And what's poor people? They're easily corrupted by power and wealth that the consumer aliens promise them so long as they obey and keep their mouth shut. And there's one character that was a bum in the beginning of the movie, and he says that if we help them, they'll leave us alone, let us make some money. And he says, you can have a taste of the good life too. So it's basically like the aliens are saying, hey, you guys maybe know what we're up to.
Yeah.
But, if you take part of this, you're going to be living good. And then people eat it up and then they can't stop. It's like a drug.
Yeah.
Cause I mean, think about a rich person. Once you go rich, like you can't go poor. Because you're just completely separated from life. It's basically like a drug addict.
Yeah, I definitely think it's easier to go from being poor to being rich. Like being rich, like you only know rich people things, and no poor people have that. So you don't know anything about anything.
Exactly. And in the film, when Nada, which is Roddy Piper's character, he finally puts on the sunglasses and lets it see the world as it is. Specific ads that appear as normal, they reveal the hidden messages beneath it. Like there's a corporate sign that says turns into obey. They have vacation billboards with a woman in a bikini, and then it turns into marry and reproduce.
Yep.
The money just says this is your god. Magazines that just has, obey, consume, sleep, shit like that. And what I love about this movie and just like how perfect it is on just really showing us kind of the true thing about consumerism is that when he puts on these sunglasses, everything is black and white. To us, to like the normal consumer, we see an ad of, vacation. We're like, oh man, it's a great time. We'll probably, if you're going with your wife or whatever, everyone has sex on vacation, right? And that's what the ad man is thinking. They think if we put this here in black and white, it basically means go here, get married on this island, fuck, shit like that. It's like that's what that ad is basically telling you.
Yep.
So in the black and white, it's basically you're seeing what the marketing person sees.
Yeah, it's literally black and white.
I love that. Yeah, it's black and white.
Like
exactly.
there's no gray area as there is with marketing. It's just like black and white. Obey. Like that. It's really clever how they did the whole black and white thing with the glasses.
Yeah. No, that's why I'm saying, like, when you first watch the movie, I feel like you have this expectation that something big is going to happen. And for the most part, I'm not even going to lie to you, it doesn't. But it's like a very slow burn.
Yeah. And
when I think about the different aspects of this film, I'm like, oh fuck, like that was pretty revolutionary. And that after really thinking about it, I'm like, this is the perfect movie to really critique how consumerism was back then in the 80s and definitely is now.
Yeah. Do you think the 80s were worse than today in terms of advertising and product placement, stuff like that?
I think today's probably way worse.
Yeah.
Only because we have so many outlets to share and do this or that.
Yeah, that's true. You always look at like Twitter or something, and if you follow any famous people, like they'll tweet and then hashtag ad at the end. It's like, God damn, I can't even come on Twitter or like read my favorite fucking wrestler's Twitter bio or something without seeing like an ad for an energy drink.
Listen, a wrestler needs to make as much money as possible.
That's true. That was a bad example. I think we can all agree that the 1990s were a great decade for America with economic prosperity and basically the culture was drowning in consumerism.
Yeah, for sure.
And that basically inspired the backlash amongst the youth of the country, particularly young men who felt displaced and disconnected from society. So that brings me to my first pick, Fight Club.
Nice.
So this movie is it's on point with They Live in terms of like an anti-consumerism type of mentality.
Oh yeah.
At least after like the first 20 minutes or so of the movie, because the Edward Norton's character is a hardcore person addicted to and consumer. Yeah, like
yeah.
He wants the nicest things. He even says, as he's ordering from IKEA while taking a shit over the phone, he even says that he's a slave for the IKEA nesting instinct. And he goes on to talk about how he's... Go ahead.
I was going to say, can I blow your dick off a little bit?
Okay, go
This
ahead.
is what I'm thinking. So you said for the first 20 minutes, Ed Norton is a consumer.
Right.
And then that basically changes when he encounters Brad Pitt on the People Mover in the airport, essentially.
Yeah.
That's when you first see him. I'm going to combat you and say that Brad Pitt is the idea of someone that's separated himself from being a normal person and being essentially a consumer. And Ed Norton, in his own thing, because he's addicted to consumerism, he's addicted to basically being that character. So he's still a consumer. He just wants to be a consumer of this rebellion, this idea, this secret that everyone seems to know except for himself. So at the end of the day, he's still the consumer persona, whereas Brad Pitt is the, free man, essentially.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, he could be just interested in being a consumer of what's going on with Project Mayhem right now.
Right.
But he even says, like, during his phone call, it never actually says his name during the movie, so he's just referred to as the narrator.
Right.
He says that he's wondering what kind of dining set defines him as a person. As he's like waiting on hold with IKEA, and he goes to his fridge. His fridge is completely empty, has no food in it. And he grabs a jar of mustard and just starts eating it with like a knife out of because he has no money. His apartment is conveniently decorated with all the IKEA wares and whatnot.
Yep, all his stuff.
So it takes it a step further with a group of men attempting to reclaim their masculinity by engaging in good old-fashioned ass-kicking and corporate sabotage.
Yes.
So specifically, they take on literal totems of consumerism or capitalism with the cornerstone of Project Mayhem. And Tyler rallies his fellow Fight Clubbers with a quote, and I want to play the quote.
God damn it, an entire generation pumping gas, waiting tables, slaves with white collars. Advertising has us chasing cars and clothes, working jobs we hate so we can buy shit we don't need. We're the middle children of history, man. No purpose or place. We have no Great War, no Great Depression. Our Great War is a spiritual war. Our Great Depression is our lives. All been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars, but we won't. We're slowly learning that fact. And we're very, very pissed off.
Fuck, I love that. God
Yeah,
damn,
so
that's so good.
That is basically the culmination of the entire movie. Basically how Edward Norton goes from a consumer, addicted consumer, to somebody who's very anti-consumerism and just outlook on the world is angry, and he hates everything, and he hates advertising, and he hates how everyone's been led to believe that they're supposed to be rich, or they're supposed to be famous, or they're supposed to be, somebody who matters. And he's like taking everybody in the club like down to his level, and just I don't know. It's kind of like a beautiful speech.
It is. And then if you think about it, he is, again, this just back to, that speech is his journey in the movie. Cause when he's like, to buy shit, working jobs we hate, to buy shit we don't need. That's the beginning. And when he's saying about, rock stars and movie people and, or rock gods and movie stars, whatever. Yeah. And he's basically trying to make him, that's why he's turning into this persona of Tyler Durden, is to try to be something.
Yeah. It's kind of like a fresh start type thing.
Right.
Where he breaks himself of the consumerism. Spoilers if you've never seen Fight Club, Edward Norton is Tyler Durden.
Right.
AKA Brad Pitt. I don't know how to explain that any better if you haven't seen the movie. But yeah, it's kind of him like shedding his consumerism self as the narrator, and then becoming Tyler Durden as like super anti-consumerism, super anti-capitalism person.
Yeah. No, I know. The amount of times that they criticize selling things. I mean, when you just think about Brad Pitt and the soap, he's got the soap and he's like, I'm selling their fat asses back to them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great because then they go to another symbol of, wealth and consumer is a plastic or liposuction clinic where they steal the fat, which is fucking disgusting scene. And then they make it into soap, that fancy fucking Etsy soap that you can get off Etsy. And I'm a big soap guy. Like I go out of my way to get some lavender soap with like
are you talking body soap or hand soap?
Oh fuck yeah. No, body soap. Okay, wasn't this body soap?
I just get normal body soap, but I'm a snob for hand soap. Like only like Bath and Body Works.
Okay.
Good,
well, once you get into
soap.
once you get into like the farmers market or Etsy soap,
okay,
that shit changes you. So I completely get this. And you know what? I mean, I don't get liposuction, but I'm sure I'm probably maybe next time I'll think about it. I'm actually rubbing someone's belly all over my skin.
That's true. Yeah. Can I just say that scene really annoys me when the bag breaks and it's like spilling on that guy and he's for whatever reason trying to like hold it or like put it back in as it's spilling out. That always bothered me because I'm like, dude, that's liquid. You're not going to get that out of, you're not going to like be able to put it back in there. It just bothered me about the scene because
well, I think because it was like fat. Maybe fat is technically solid, but I mean,
rewatch
there's
that
like
scene.
Juice. There is like juice that's coming out for sure.
Rewatch the scene, and I feel like now that you know, it will annoy you too.
Oh yeah, probably, most likely. And I think it's pretty common, like 80s, 90s, because it seems like a lot of these movies kind of caught on to the fact that the 80s and 90s, it's like the peak of American consumerism. And that's shown in my next film, American Psycho, taking place right in the middle of 1980s New York.
Oh, God.
So if you don't know the plot, first of all, watch this movie because it's fucking so good. Although it's kind of it's so dated. It's like such a 90s movie.
But
even though it's not, I think it's like 2000 or 2001, which I still love.
It's 2000.
There. Okay,
but it takes place in the 80s, right?
Yes,
so
it has a very old style feel, though. It feels like an early 90s movie.
Okay,
I don't know if that makes sense.
I understand what you're saying. Like even for a period piece, I guess if you could call it a period piece, it still looks like it's a 90s movie.
Yes, but yeah, if you don't know the plot, I think we've discussed this movie before, but
yeah,
basically it's Christian Bale as a murdering psychopath. And he also works on Wall Street and has a superfluous amount of things that you would expect a rich person to have. Just unnecessary shit that I could kind of, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I can relate a little bit.
Well, are you talking specifically about the things or like the shower routine that he does?
Yes. So that's the beginning of the movie. And the beginning narration is just phenomenal.
I love when he's talking about what he does for a routine. It's so great.
I feel like it's a 5 to 7 minute explanation of everything that he does.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was meant to be this way, but I think the filmmakers and the author of the book, they're paralleling our idea of consumption of material items to attempting to fill an empty hole. Christian Bale's character, Patrick Bateman, has it all. He's got, the pretty fiance, if you're into Reese Witherspoon, I guess.
If you're into white blondes.
He's successful in his career. He has all the amazing things you or I, Kevin, or anyone listening could ever dream of having. And of course, he has a fuck ton of money. And yet, when you think about it, he's empty inside. He needs more. And by that, he needs to kill. And he does kill a lot.
He does.
And I mean, obviously, this is an extreme version of how no matter what you have, there will still be that emptiness that drives us a bit psycho or Bale's case a lot psycho. But going back to the morning routine, the scene opens and it shows his apartment, which is, beautiful for the time, and the voiceover narration describing where he lives, how he has a balanced diet, rigorous exercise routine, and he describes, in the morning, if my face is a little puffy. First of all, that's some rich shit. I've never heard of that.
I don't know what he's talking about. I cannot relate to that.
Yeah. Do you ever have puffy face in the morning? What does that even mean?
No, I don't even know what that means.
No. But yeah, he puts on an ice pack while doing stomach crunches. After he removes the ice pack, he uses a deep pore cleanser lotion. In the shower, he uses a water activated gel cleanser, then a honey almond body scrub, and on the face an exfoliating gel scrub, and then he applies an herbal mint facial mask. And he continues on about 50 other products that he applies every morning.
First of all, fuck you if you wake up that early to do that much shit.
So many things.
That's like a couple hours worth of shit.
Yeah, but if you think about, he's like a stockbroker. Like, what time does he have to be in? Because like the market opens at like 9:30.
Yeah.
Although I guess you have to be there beforehand. So do you even sleep? Because he doesn't really do drugs in the movie, except for like maybe that one. Does he even do drugs in the movie?
I don't think he does.
Oh, or when he's having sex with those two.
Oh, yeah, he does. I think he does coke.
Okay, so that's like the only time we ever see him do drugs.
I think, yeah.
Okay. But either way, to be able to do that, he sleeps for like what, 3 hours a day?
Gotta be. That's a sign of a sociopath, like somebody that doesn't sleep.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, all these products, it sounds like he spoke to a sales associate at Lush and just bought everything they recommended. They're like, oh, well, actually, you need this. I know he bought the Lush tin with the scrub. I know he did. The travel tin.
Yeah.
Patrick Bateman's public persona and perhaps even personal, and this is what's just so, like, he's addicted to consumerism. The only reason he's basically designated by his prestigious brands.
Yeah.
The shit he wears, the expensive restaurants he goes to. Like that one guy was like obsessed with him, the gay dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh my God, is that suit Valentino? And he's like, oh, and then when Jared Leto comes in, he goes, yeah, he goes to the same barber I do, except I have a better haircut. He wears the same suits I do. And he wears Oliver Peoples glasses, which I don't know if you know what Oliver Peoples are.
I do.
But those glasses are like $600. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then he gets to go to restaurants that are impossible to get reservations for.
But
which
not
I feel
Dorcia.
Like is, yeah, not Dorcia. Also, that's such a New York thing. Like nowhere else is like, oh my God, this is impossible to get.
I've never had trouble getting a reservation anywhere, even night of. Honestly.
What about in Vegas?
Vegas, I've never made a reservation. I've just walked in. I've walked into some fancy restaurants in Vegas too.
Yeah, I have too. I feel like there's just so many. Like, and you would think in New York that they'd have a million restaurants.
Yeah, there'd be like with Vegas, it's oversaturated with restaurants, so it's never like insanely packed where you can never get a reservation.
Right.
I feel like New York should be like that too.
Yeah, it should be. I also love his and this again with how he's just defined by his things. His obsession of having the sexiest, sleekest, most badass business card that any Wall Street asshole has ever seen.
I love the business card scene. It's probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie.
Yeah, what was he? He's like, that's eggshell. Oh no, bone.
Bone.
His was bone. His was bone. Jared Leto's was eggshell. When he's like, well, look at this. And they're like, oh my
Lord. Like very slowly slides it over on the table, and Christian Bale grabs it, and he just starts sweating, and he's like, "What the fuck is?" He's like pissed off that his card, which on the surface looks the exact same.
It does look the exact same.
It's a white card with some black text on it. Like that's what it looks like. But Christian Bale's is slightly a little darker and less white than Jared Leto's, and he fucking hates it.
Listen, you know you want that business card that's like hard stock.
Oh yeah.
You can't have some weak ass business. You can't have like an easily foldable business card because guess what? If it's easily foldable, shit's going in the trash.
Yeah, you got to have a very rigid card to go in the wallet. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like a literal dick measuring contest of who has the harder cock.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's the business card is the cock.
Yeah.
I do love that when he was so proud to present it to those guys because he goes, "This is right off the presses. I picked it up this morning." and then immediately it's like, "Oh wow, that's really nice, but check this out." And then that's when he was just like, "Fuck."
Yeah, Christian Bale was thinking about it the entire day. He's like, I'm going to pick up my cards. The guys are going to be so fucking impressed by how this bone looks on this. Like and he has like a minute of pleasure before Jared Leto's like, "Yeah, check this out." And then he's like crushed by it.
I know. I mean, granted, the business card or facial lotions may not be the best things that you or I would want, but this film fleshes out how petty these guys go for having the best of the best. Sir, with honors. I need to go with the Men in Black. I don't know why. I just wanted to go with the Men in Black reference, but you know.
It's funny you say the best of the best because he kills Jared Leto just for having a reservation at Dorsia.
Yeah, doesn't he say
at the end he says try getting a reservation at Dorsia now.
You fucking bastard.
Fucking bastard.
He's compared to Elvis Costello. I love the backwards. Like,
yeah, he's like, that's such a white guy thing to do. Like it's like imitation running, but also dancing at the same time.
But also white as fuck.
Yeah, it's like, the moving the
yeah,
arms
like the
back
white
and
guy,
forth.
the white guy,
Yeah.
The white guy run.
That you could totally picture somebody dancing Huey Lewis in the News. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, Patrick Bateman's signature song, Huey Lewis in the News is Hip to Be Square, is exactly him. And not to quote him, but most people probably don't listen to the lyrics, but they should. He even explains that it's about the pleasures of conformity and the importance of trends, which is him to a fucking T.
Yep.
And the lyrics of the song is that he, like, I guess whoever Huey Lewis is speaking about is that he works out every day, watches what he eats, likes his bands in business suits, and that he cuts his hair, which I guess is like a normal guy thing to do because you don't have like long, like band people hair. I don't know. But all of these things
just sounded like a 60-year-old guy, like
those band
long
kids.
band people hair. Get on my lawn.
Those goddamn hippies. But yeah, all of these things are mentioned by Patrick Bateman because he works out, he is on diets, he wears the business suit, he has the fancy barber to get his hair cut. And in a way, Christian Bale almost breaks the fourth wall a bit when he's joking about how there are more important problems in the world. I don't know if you remember this scene, but he says, we have to promote general social concern and less materialism in young people. When the guy's just, ranting about something. But
yeah. Yep.
It's just like, hey, maybe you guys should, this is an example of what not to be. And also I'm like beating it in your head that consumerism is bad, less materialism. Young people of our generation need to stop worrying about that. And that was 18 years ago. And look at us now.
Yeah.
As in like the movie came out in 18 years ago. I'm not that bad in math that I don't know that 1980 whatever was 18 years ago.
1980 something was 18 years ago?
No, I'm saying that's not the case.
Okay.
I'm saying the movie came out in 2000, 18 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, John, in my next movie, the world is basically divided up into two types, the haves and the have-nots. And 1983's Trading Places pretty much takes that idea and makes it into a ridiculous comedy with Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy
Yeah, it's ridiculous. That's for damn sure.
So the movie starts off with the Duke brothers, who are the owners of this brokerage firm. They're like 70 or 80 years old and
very racist.
Very racist, very rich. So they make this arbitrary bet for $1, and it was basically along the lines of taking a well-off, affluent managing director of their brokerage firm, Lewis Winthorpe III, which is that's a rich name.
White.
That's a
That's
rich
a white.
name.
That's a rich white name.
And that is Dan Aykroyd's character. And they take Billy Ray Valentine, Eddie Murphy's character.
By the way, can I say how he sound like that name? It sounds like someone who assassinated a president.
It does.
When
It
you
really
throw
does.
in the middle name, it's like an assassin or like a mass murderer.
Yeah.
Like you can't. It's like almost middle names are for only those two type of people.
Yeah, I would say actors and serial killers is pretty much anyone. Like anyone that ever uses their middle name is like one of those.
Yeah. Well, and then again, like an assassin,
And an assassin,
like Lee Harvey Oswald,
yeah.
Edgar Allan Poe,
John
I'm
Wilkes
just kidding.
Booth.
John Wilkes Booth, Edgar Allan Poe.
So the bet is to take the well-off Lewis Winthorpe and the street hustler Billy Ray Valentine and have them switch lives. So they do this by framing Winthorpe as a thief and a philanderer, and he's disgraced. His fiance leaves him. He loses his job and his house, which the company owns. So they take his job and his butler. And Billy Ray is basically handed all of this with no questions asked.
Yeah.
So while on the bottom, Winthorpe struggles so fucking hard. Because as we said, going from rich to poor is so much harder than going from poor to rich.
Yeah.
It's a
really
bigger
is.
learning curve. I wouldn't say that it's harder, but it's a bigger learning curve.
Especially when your name has numbers in it. I mean, it's
So he's basically only ever shown kindness from this hooker that he meets on the street, Jamie Lee Curtis.
yeah.
And
I completely forgot she's in this movie. by the
yeah,
way.
this is like a very underrated 80s comedy movie. It's so good. And Jamie Lee Curtis is like the cherry on top.
She is.
Later on in the movie, after Billy Ray has been basically learning the whole brokerage business, running
Yeah.
like basically running this company, living in Winthorpe's house, having Winthorpe's butler do his stuff or his laundry and whatnot.
Who's the president of the college in Indiana Jones, by the way.
Yeah.
Marcus?
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. So Billy Ray finds the Dukes in the bathroom, and he overhears them say that they want to turn the tables back and basically make Billy Ray poor again and Winthorpe rich.
Right, because they don't want a black in charge of their firm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's me saying it nicely.
Yeah. So Trading Places does a great job of identifying how social status, class, and materialism shapes the reality of someone's life.
Yeah.
So while Winthorpe is initially depicted as a snob that looks down on people like Billy Ray, he has a lavish wardrobe, significant social status. He even has a membership to the best club in New York where they play squash. And so once Winthorpe is stripped of all of his possessions, he becomes desperate, pathetic, and basically someone he once viewed with contempt. He fucking hated these people.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
Billy Ray, because they do have a run-in at the beginning where Billy Ray asks for money and Winthorpe is like disgusted by him.
Yeah. Is this the part where he was pretending to have no legs?
Yes, and be blind
Okay.
at the same
and be
time.
blind. And be blind. And
So-
he was a veteran of Viet Cong.
Yeah. So Billy Ray has like the opposite effect. He instantly adapts to having material goods and an elevated social status.
He does, and he plays like the rich guy so well.
He does, yeah. He completely changes his mannerisms, how he talks within a matter of like a week.
Yeah, aside from the smoking weed in the bathroom.
Yeah. And it significantly changes his personality. So as we see, like his mannerisms, his voice, his dialect basically completely changes when he's in the company of these rich white people.
Right, because in the beginning of the movie, he kind of has that like homeless accent.
Yeah.
He just has like a crazy guy accent. I don't really know like how I can really explain this.
He has the Eddie
Murphy accent.
Eddie Murphy and Delirious accent.
He does, yes. And it's kind of weird because he almost has like a British Eddie Murphy accent when Dan Aykroyd comes back and he's pointing the gun at him. And he's like, this is absolutely false. But it's like Eddie Murphy voice, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah. So that's like Winthorpe's rock bottom is when he becomes Santa and tries to sneak into the Christmas party. And he steals an entire salmon fillet.
Oh,
and puts it down his pants. Yes. Tries to walk out with it, and that's one of the best scenes is Dan Aykroyd playing a Santa Claus that's like drunk and homeless.
He eats the Santa. No, he is on the bus and he goes to eat the salmon, but he ends up eating the Santa Claus beard.
Yeah, it's just like hanging out of his mouth. Great scene.
Yeah.
But in the end, Billy Ray and Winthorpe team up together to get back at these racist assholes that don't give a shit about anybody. And they basically bankrupt them while making themselves completely stupid rich by insider trading, which is
illegal.
The movie tries to have a good message at the end, but then it's like, we did all this by insider trading, and then that's the end.
Well, I mean, it's perfect thing for consumerism. It's like, even though they seem to have been from different worlds, they were both scumbags trying to make a buck. Obviously, Eddie Murphy was hustling on the street, and this guy was, in Wall Street doing dark dealings. But at the end, they both become rich again by basically being scumbags.
Yep, and it just goes to show that, social status doesn't really, there's people on both sides doing the same thing and you don't even know it.
Yep, absolutely. All right, cool. Well, that sums up our criticism on consumerism films. Let's jump into the product placement stuff. And my next film features, actually, I'm going to say my next series of films.
Okay.
I know it's kind of unfair, but you'll see why. It features a character that you and I have spoken a lot about. And despite this character's destructive lifestyle and going up against plenty of bad guys, I always figured he'd be killed at some point. And it's James Bond in Skyfall.
Yep.
And James Bond has fallen on hard times. And this may be unfair, but I want to talk about him in not only Skyfall, but also Spectre. Completely switching his drink of choice from a vodka martini, shaken not stirred, to give me a bottle of Heineken. And I did some digging into the history of Heineken and James Bond. And according to Heineken's website, they've had a partnership with the James Bond franchise since 1997 in Tomorrow Never Dies. I never even noticed this.
I didn't notice it either.
But the thing is, it's not prominently featured until 2012 for Skyfall. But Heineken has made commercials with the various Bond girls for Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, and then for Spectre and Skyfall, James Bond was featured in the Heineken commercials. And in an interview for Skyfall's promotion, Daniel Craig even said that they couldn't do the movie without the product placement. And
as in they couldn't raise enough money?
Correct.
Wow.
But yeah, for Skyfall, the production got some of their money back before the film had even been released. Heineken paid the production $45 million to be prominently featured in the film. And the movie had a $200 million budget. And that's including the Heineken deal.
Damn.
That's like a fucking quarter of your, basically almost a quarter of your budget is is just from Heineken.
How are you going to make a blockbuster if you can't afford a blockbuster?
That's what I'm saying. And I guess $45 million is the price. This is like a thing that it was the price to make James Bond finally take a swig of the illustrious Dutch lager that is Heineken. So I don't know if you remember the movie, but in the scene, MI6, so the British intelligence HQ, it gets bombed, and James Bond is watching a CNN broadcast in a bar in some island, and he's just sipping on a Heineken. But in all fairness, like not defending this product placement, like he's not drinking a vodka martini in an island, like a bar.
That's true. It would be more.
It's like, and it's an outdoor one. It's an outdoor island bar.
Yeah, but it would still be more believable if he was drinking something on point with where he was, like a coconut
mojito.
Full of umbrellas and fruit hanging off of it. That's what I want to see James Bond drinking.
That's true. Do they even sell Heineken on islands? I feel like you're getting Corona.
Yeah, if you're going to an island, you're probably getting, like, depending on where you're going, like Red Stripe or
that's
Corona.
Racist. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad it wasn't a bucket of Corona, so that's a win in my book, because then we're treading into Fast and Furious, and I think we talked the hell out of that last week. So.
Yeah,
or last 2 weeks, I'm sorry. But yeah, so the Heineken thing, it doesn't even just show up from him drinking it. There's a couple of scenes where it's just there, and in the very beginning of the movie, there's a giant car chase in Turkey, and we get that convenient shot where they're riding motorcycles and a van backs up, and they have to stop the motorcycle, but now without giving this weird abrupt shot of them stopping with like 50 fucking crates of Heineken.
Yeah.
Like not like if I'm assuming if like they come in 12 packs, but I think they have like the green like paper around them that say Heineken. It's just a brown like shipping container that just has the Heineken like stamp on it.
Yeah.
So, and the worst part is that it's in the foreground of the shot.
Yeah, it's front.
So,
and
like
center.
it's the shit that's happening. It's basically the background of the movie. We're watching just a Heineken commercial,
basically.
The other insane thing about Heineken is that they doubled down their marketing campaigns with the release of Spectre, and they issued $100 million marketing campaign, which bloated the budget to $245 million.
No fucking way.
Yes.
Oh my God.
The irony to all this is that the film only made $880 million worldwide, and Skyfall ended up making over $1 billion.
Wow.
So they bought more of the stock, and they definitely get less of the return. But I mean, clearly the Heineken product placement, it's been leaving a sour taste in everyone's mouth when it comes to James Bond.
You know, it's great. You said that they doubled down with Heineken. I think they tripled down, honestly, because also in 1997, Austin Powers came out, and that movie was also sponsored by Heineken. Because I remember Austin Powers saying, like, "Get your hands off my Heine," and he's like holding a fucking Heineken bottle, like front and center, like he is in the Instagram post for Wayne's World and Pepsi. It's like front and center.
That's right.
So
I'm wondering if they're like, if we're going with James Bond, we got to go the partnership with the parody too.
That's what
like Heineken wanted a Heineken monopoly.
Yeah, on spy movies. Yeah. I wonder if Heineken's in Bourne Identity
and Mission Impossible.
I
think they need to double down on all of it. Honestly,
yeah, they really do. They need to corner the market.
Official drink of spies. The spies don't have an official drink.
That's a good idea.
Heineken's just such a under the radar like beer. Like, do people even buy Heinekens?
I've never had a Heineken in my life.
Really?
Yeah, and not
did the marketing work? You didn't want to be like, if James Bond is drinking.
I'm curious, but I've never been a beer guy, so I don't. How is Heineken different from like a Coors Light or a Natural Light? Like,
it's definitely from definitely different from a Natty. That's for sure. God, imagine if like James Bond was just crushing natties.
Yeah, I imagine him wearing like a trucker hat, mullet, Natty Light with the Coos, Make America Great Again, and
a red Solo cup that's probably like 80% head and like 20% actual beer.
yeah.
So I don't know why, but every time there was ever a Natty keg in college, it was just all fucking foam and like a little like bee's dick worth of beer.
That's the beer that you could get in a keg for like $25.
Yeah, it's probably because it's like mostly fucking air.
Yeah. It's like a goddamn Lay's potato chip bag.
But yeah, I mean, despite all of this, don't get me wrong. I mean, James Bond is all, as far as product placement is concerned, he's all about the brands he wears. And it's become integral to his image. I mean, we have Aston Martin, Belvedere Martinis, Omega Seamaster watches. But now it's kind of gotten to the point where they're really bastardizing the films by not only including a cheap beer or cheaper beer for the everyman. James Bond's not an everyman.
Yeah.
But like, as I mentioned when we opened the show, Sony peddling all of its products, like people actually use the damn things. I mean, please, Sony. The only people that actually use your computers and phones are the characters in your movies. No one fucking buys Sony Vaio computers. Let's be real.
I've never in my life had a Sony computer.
I've never had a Sony computer, and I also didn't know they made cell phones, but they do.
I didn't know that either.
But yeah, I understand why. I mean, I always understand why marketing people do this. Because as a James Bond fan, I've always sought after some of the things he's worn in the movies. I mean, I've been obsessed with the Persol sunglasses he's worn, the Omega watches, one of which I own. And his overall style is just what makes people want to be him. So it's not like trashy because it's like high end shit. And I know like anything that they feature in the film, like people buy like that, it just sells.
Yeah. They make Heineken look classy when Fast and Furious makes Corona look so trashy.
Even though it already is. And they're just like, let's bring it down even more.
Yeah.
Because you know you can only drink it with a white wife beater on.
Exactly.
But I mean, like as far as the brands are concerned, like it makes sense why Heineken wants to be up there with them because they want to sell more, right? I mean, the argument could even be made that because of the extreme marketing campaigns they've run, that it helped propel Skyfall to the $1 billion mark. Obviously, we're not a fan because for the longest time, James Bond never drank a Heineken or beer for that matter.
Yeah.
So he's clearly in his like late 40s. Like he's just like, oh man, I want to just crush some lagers and watch the game with my mates. Like that's the
he's the guy.
James...
Yeah. Nowadays he's the guy that
is pissing on the street.
No, that a vodka martini gives him a tummy ache now, so he's got to drink Heineken.
Right.
Like he's that guy now.
Actually, maybe they'll incorporate that in the next movie.
But a product placement with Tums.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Tums and Heineken.
Tums and
maybe
Heineken.
Make a $270 million movie.
They'll be able to make a movie for $1 billion. Yeah, maybe Heineken will be up there with those brands. Maybe it'll be synonymous with him in the next like 30 years.
Yeah,
it has to be like a long.
Yeah,
it's gonna need a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope it doesn't, but I guess we'll see. Oh, and by the way, Heineken already has the new ads for whatever new James Bond film's coming out. So expect a huge marketing campaign again.
Oh God.
And who knows? Maybe they'll like he drank a beer in Skyfall and fucking, I don't even know how Heineken played into Spectre, but maybe in the newest James Bond movie, he's going to be rocking like a Heineken branded like race jacket.
Like a NASCAR jacket?
Yeah, like
I don't see James Bond wearing a NASCAR jacket.
Well, he could like infiltrate a Formula One race team and wear the dude. And that's like the European NASCAR. Let's be real.
I'm not mad at that, honestly.
And he can wear the jacket for multiple scenes.
Yeah.
So you get that you like pump the branding up. He's just like straight up just like, yo, I'm representing Heineken. I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah. And racing gives you an opportunity to have so many more sponsors.
Oh yeah.
Like
Open it up.
You know, you always see the M&M jacket. That's the one that I see the most out here. And I don't know who races for M&Ms, but the people that wear the M&M jacket, I'm like, damn.
I think it's just because it's M&M's. Because actually, I knew and he could have been into NASCAR, but God, I don't know if this is racist, but he was black. Like, black people don't wear NASCAR shit. He was black, and he wore a fucking M&M's jacket. And I think it's just because he liked M&M's, honestly. Like, people aren't going to rock, like, people like M&M's, like, people aren't going to rock, like, a Home Depot or Lowe's jacket. Let's be honest.
That's true, because then you look like an employee or something.
Yeah. Actually.
Which isn't a bad thing, I guess, but.
No, it's not. It's not. I would like to see everyone in Home Depot wear the Home Depot jacket.
That's a good idea, but you know Home Depot's too cheap for that shit.
Yeah, those must be expensive, right?
I'm sure they got to be over $100.
Do they wear those jackets in the car?
No. They wear like fire suits, like fire retardant suits.
So what's the point of the jacket?
To support your NASCAR driver.
Your brands?
That's what I never got. Like you know, you buy a basketball jersey or a baseball jersey. Like when you want to support your race car driver, you buy like a fucking Lowe's t-shirt. Like what?
That's true. But I think for James Bond, he's got to wear the Heineken. You know Heineken's going to sell out. They're going to be like,
yeah,
I need me a Heineken jacket.
That's actually a good idea because the Heineken,
drinking it.
The Heineken green on a jacket and a car.
Green, silver, and black. Green, silver, and black. Those are good colors.
That's a sleek looking car and jacket. I might be in on that.
I might be in on that too. Heineken needs to listen to this, and they're going to be like, "Oh my god, this is a." I think we may get the first $1 billion James Bond film from James Bond and the infiltration into Formula One racing.
Yeah. You know what?
Like that's like a part of it. That's like the first act mission.
Yeah, that's definitely not a third actor.
Like opens up Monaco instead of, the races are going and you just get the and he's wearing the Heineken jacket with the Heineken hat and new personal sunglasses. Ooh, and the Heineken edition Omega Seamaster.
And
I mean, you got to go in on
the Heineken keychain.
Everyone is drinking Heineken at the event.
They only sell Heineken. You can't even get a water there.
Yeah, and the silver 007 edition bottles because they actually had those. The silver aluminum.
Oh yeah,
007. Yeah, so just full on, and I think Heineken will be like pouring basically all the revenue they get from Heineken sales for the year. That's how much they're putting into this movie.
Yeah, it's going to be like their Super Bowl ad. So, John, we have discussed at length racing and advertising. My next movie is Talladega Nights.
Oh, that's a beautiful transition right there. I love how that lined up.
Probably the most product placement heavy movie ever is Talladega Nights.
Well, yeah.
So, Interstate Bakeries Corp. agreed to a product placement deal with Sony Pictures. Of course, Sony Pictures is back in the picture.
Of course.
To have the Wonder Bread brand featured in the movie. And this is one of the instances where money never changed hands. It was a handshake deal, and they just agreed to put the logo and the brand in the movie. Mainly because the company was
Wonder Bread is a white.
Yeah,
thing,
the company was going through some bankruptcy at the time, so
okay,
they couldn't pay to have it in there. And
quick side tangent. Sorry, like this is way off topic, but have you ever noticed how Wonder Bread's like on the bottom shelf now?
I can't remember. We always get Iron Kids.
What?
I don't get Wonder Bread. We get Iron Kids bread.
No, I don't get Wonder Bread either, but it's got a colorful packaging, and I always notice it's like on It's not even on the shelf. It's like on the floor. It's like,
dude, when
like people are kicking around the fucking bread.
When I go to the store, I'm like in my mind, I'm like Iron Kids, because I always forget and get the wrong bread. So I am not like Wonder Bread is not even on my radar when I go to the store.
Next time you go to the store, I'm telling you, look to the floor. Hey, that rhymes actually.
Well, it may have something to do with interstate bakeries going bankrupt and basically not having any money.
Okay.
And we all know that if you didn't know, but brands pay to have their stuff eye level in grocery stores. It's just another way of marketing their shit to you. And if Wonder Bread can't afford to do that, of course they're going to be on the bottom or the very top. So the Wonder Bread logo actually appeared in the movie for 11 minutes and 32 seconds. So it basically
That's a long time.
It was an 11 and a half minute commercial for Wonder Bread. And for free, yes. So the movie made an estimated $47 million at the box office. And how I talked about in the beginning about the agencies that track sponsorship deals and the exposure revenue based off of the exposure, Joyce Julius and Associates, they estimated that Wonder Bread received $4.3 million in exposure for lending out their brand to Talladega Nights, which is pretty insane because, again, it's like, an 11-minute ad for their brand.
You're just getting $4.3 million for free.
Yeah, basically. It would have been really shitty to watch Talladega Nights and there'd been like a bunch of dumb fake brands.
Yeah, agreed.
So I like the fact that they went after.
That was the main logo on the jacket on
the car. It was the main.
And on his jacket.
On his jacket. Yeah.
It was like a yellow and white jacket.
Yeah.
And it had like Wonder Bread on it on the front.
It had Wonder Bread on the back, and then it had like Old Spice. No, that was Cal's. It was he had a bunch of sponsors. And the agreement with the other sponsors was basically the same agreement. It was just a handshake deal for them to use their brand. So there's Old Spice, Powerade, Applebee's, Perrier.
No, dude, Wonder Bread is the main logo.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said. It's the one that's on his car. It's featured on his car.
Yeah, but it's also on the front of his jacket.
Yeah, well, his jacket is what's on his car.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Like the M&M jacket and the M&M car. Like it's all the
right.
So with the other product placement, Jean Girard, the sponsorship measurement company, they estimated that Perrier water had exposure of $894,000 for the film, and
that was Sacha Baron Cohen's jacket.
Yes, and car, mainly car, because we're talking about NASCAR. We're not talking about jacket.
I'm very stuck on this jacket.
I know. I'm like. I think the M&M jacket was a NASCAR jacket, but you're so focused on what the jacket is that you're not.
You know what it is? I'm also thinking of the Heineken jacket and how much I want it now. I basically marketed to myself.
I think you marketed to me too, because that Heineken green.
You were hyped.
Is a nice green.
It is a nice green.
I'd like to have a shirt that green color.
I'll find you one.
So also in the movie, there's a bunch of restaurants like Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, or Domino's, not Pizza Hut. What else is there? McDonald's. There's a ton of, especially when they're eating the dinner. That
oh yeah,
and they're eating like the Taco Bell. Yeah, yeah. All of that product placement was free, and thankfully, because I don't know who would have been able to have like a deal worked out with the filmmakers to have like their product featured, because there's so much shit.
Yeah.
So they kind of had to get everything for free, and luckily for them, all these brands agreed to do it and have their products featured.
I wonder how would pull you have to have that they're just good with it being on there for free.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's like a kind of like a back end
it's a Will
deal.
Ferrell movie,
Maybe. Yeah, they probably knew it would blow up.
I mean, I guess for the most part, they're always trying to, buy their way into movies rather than. So, I mean, you're basically doing them a favor. It's not like they're worried about,
Yeah.
Like no one pays. Well, maybe they pay Apple to be in their movie, maybe.
Yeah.
But I mean, for the most part, I would assume that the filmmaker's not like, oh, we need to have this in here. We gotta like pay them for it. Like maybe if you're a fucking reality TV show, because they always cover they can't afford that shit.
Yeah. I always
So-
hate when they got like tape over the hat. 'Cause
Oh,
they
like
can't
black
show-
tape. They
yeah.
do that shit on like home improvement shows. It kills me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for my next movie, I'm not even gonna lie because I was 100% in on product placement for this, and that is for the 2004 movie I, Robot, starring Will Smith. The ad men who were behind having Will Smith be a walking billboard for things is a genius.
Yeah.
This may be the first time such like blatant product placement hasn't pissed me off. That said, I've tried watching clips of this movie and attempted to stay positive about it, and it's pretty impossible because it is fucking terrible.
Were you ever a fan of the movie?
Oh, I was a big time fan.
Okay. Are you just don't think it holds up?
No, I just don't think it's very good
Okay.
now. So
Yeah. Or your tastes have changed.
my taste definitely
grew
changed.
up a little bit.
When the movie came out in 2004, and I was 12 at the time.
Oh shit. Okay, I didn't realize it came out that long ago.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like 2010, 11 maybe.
No. Yeah, if then maybe it probably would be. Well, maybe not. Because I think Hancock came out at that time. And
That's true.
Will Smith just doesn't really do good movies anymore. The two big products, though, that appeared in this movie were Converse All-Stars and the Audi RSQ concept car. What's crazy about the Audi is that it wasn't a normal concept car that the director, which is Alex Proyas, he decided to use in this film. Audi actually decided to build a completely new car for the movie. And they worked exclusively with the set designers to create a concept car that they figured would fit in the world of Chicago in 2035. Audi used a actual legitimate concept car team to analyze props and concept art of how the film would look to design the car. So with that, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I mean, granted, I was never a fan of the car, of how it looked, but
yeah,
it's
I never
pretty
thought
memorable.
I never thought it looked cool. And
I
the
think
fact
it looks pretty normal, honestly. Like, I feel like that would have existed. Like, it's like it's a car.
it
It's an
looks like
Audi.
a futuristic car from like 10 years before the movie takes place.
Well, because I mean, it has automatic driving, right? That's like the thing. It's an electric car,
Yeah.
and
Which we have now, which I'm sticking with the fact that that's old technology. That's dog shit technology right now.
right. The only thing I think that was different is that the wheels were spheres
Yeah, or they were like
or hovercrafts.
see-through- yeah, type thing. Yeah.
I don't know. Like they were like on tracks. I think weren't they on tracks when.
No, I think it was like a hover car. I know it had wheels though.
I'm pretty sure the wheels were like balls.
Okay, it just had amazing stabilization features and sound dampening features.
Right. And I love how also this is the way the future thing. It's like have the fucking butterfly or suicide doors. Like that's a future car.
Yeah. Tesla's
It's
on
one
something.
Yeah. But I do like that the fact that the car it had a purpose. It's Will Smith's car and it contributed to a pretty crazy fight scene. It wasn't just there to be there. And the fact that there was actual collaboration by Audi with the film production gives it a boost, I think. Rather than it just being like, oh, he's going to drive just an Audi car. And it's just going to be like all Audi, fucking Audi keys in his hand or something. It was just like, oh, it's just that's the car he drives and it's cool looking.
Yeah, I like the fact that they didn't super focus on the Audi like they do in the Marvel movies. Because it's always like glamour shots of the car like driving. And,
is it Audis that sponsor it?
I think Audi sponsor a Avengers and Lexus sponsors Iron Man and
No, Iron Man's Audi, dude. The R8.
Yeah, R8, yeah. And then Lexus sponsors the Avengers. And
No, I
Black
think it's all
Panther.
Audi.
No,
I think
it's
it's all
definitely
Audi.
not. It's definitely not.
Oh, Lexus is in Black Panther. You're right. The concept car.
I don't understand the point of concept cars. You've never seen a concept
It's just.
car.
It seems like
come
a
out.
waste of time and money.
It
Personally,
does. It's like, here's this futuristic car that we're never going to release.
ever.
Yeah.
Ever. You'll never see it.
It's like a dick measuring contest.
It's like who could come up with the craziest car that no one will ever use.
Yeah,
or
like
purchase.
they have the auto shows and they're like, hey, here's everyone's concept cars, like Ford, Chevy. And
Do the
it's like-
concept cars work, or are they literally just?
I think
like
most of
an
the time
empty
they
shell?
don't. Yeah, I think most of the time they don't work.
Okay, so that makes sense why they're a concept. It's just like, oh, this could be something.
Yeah, but again, you're spending like research money on this shit.
You are. You really are. Yeah. It's not like it's like a science fair where they're just like, okay, kids make this car and we'll make it. Like you're spending,
Yeah.
first of all, raw material, energy, research. So at the very least, maybe that's why they're always in movies, because they're like, well, fuck, we got to get our money back somehow.
That's true.
I want to talk about, though, my favorite product placement of this movie, and it gets a lot of hate. I'm not gonna lie, it gets a shit ton of hate, and it definitely, maybe, probably deserves it. But it's the Converse All Stars in this movie.
God.
The movie opens basically with them. He's like getting ready, and he's butt ass naked showering with no shower curtain, which is an insane move. And
That's a power move if you have a maid. That is a power move.
and it's like one of those old like fucking bathtubs that has like
Yeah.
the ring to put the shower curtain. He's just like, fuck it, no shower curtain.
I'm just going to get a maid. I'm not wasting my time with the shower curtain bullshit. I am too busy for that.
But yeah, so once he gets out of the shower, he takes a Converse box out of I mean, the way it's introduced, it just screams product placement. He takes them out of a clear bag, out of a clearly labeled Converse box.
The label is never half shown or not shown in the
No,
scene.
it's fully
like
shown.
front and center, clear bag, center of the frame. Like
He takes when he takes the shoe out, he like looks at it, he inspects
yeah,
it, he moves it
yeah.
around, and then we get the glamour shot of him tying the shoes and like wiping them, and you get like the full on profile Converse All Star, and he remarks, "A thing of beauty." That's what he says, and I'm not even gonna lie, the jet black Converse All Stars, the black leather, I mean, they look legit as fuck. And I always wanted a pair because of this movie. And oddly enough, I've yet to ever own a pair of Converse All Stars. And don't worry, Marissa, I haven't bought a pair just in case you thought I was going to. There's even another scene in this movie. He visits his grandma and she points out his shoes. And not only does he reply, but he lifts his leg up and puts it on the dinner table. So that when you see the shoe again, he goes, Converse All Star, vintage 2004. And he's like, I know you want some. And I was like, fuck yeah, I do. That shit's sick. And then even his boss remarks that he has nice shoes. It's like, the amount of times the Converse All Star is mentioned is insane.
the fact that he like says the name and it's like front and center is maddening to me. Every time I see the movie, I'm like, here we go again with the fucking Converse. I've never wanted a pair of Converse. I'm not a sneaker guy like you are. The fact that it's just like thrown in your face and it's like blatantly product placement, I'm like, Jesus, get on with the fucking movie.
I know. It's the worst part is that he like brings the shoe into the frame.
Yeah.
he just like almost lifts it up. It's like the Converse All Star,
Yeah.
sold in your nearest Foot Locker or whatever.
Yeah.
Will Smith also loses his shit after a fight with a robot because his shoes are completely, I think they're caked in blood or oil.
Oil,
I honestly,
think.
Is it oil?
I think it is, yeah.
Okay. But of course we get another close-up shot of the Converse, and he like twists his ankle so you can see the white logo.
Yeah.
And again, the profile of the shoes. It's just crazy. But what's interesting about this is that Converse was basically dead in 2003, a year before iRobot, and Nike had just purchased them that year.
God damn.
And I'm sure it was Nike's idea to throw them into what they thought would be a big film to get them out there even more.
That's sneaky.
And
they bought them for rock bottom price. And then they're like, oh, let's just throw it in this movie. And then it probably blew up into something huge.
Yeah, they made it into a $1.4 billion franchise.
Wow. I still see people with those shoes everywhere.
Yeah, I know. And honestly, the marketing worked, and I love them. But I actually never bought them, so maybe it didn't work. So that movie's fucking terrible, honestly.
I liked it when it first
I
came
was
out.
like, yeah, same. I had it on fucking DVD.
I think I still have it on DVD right now.
It comes with like the clear plastic case.
I
That's like-
always take those off. Throw them away.
Oh, but that one had like Will Smith on it. It was like one of those ones that like when you put it all together, it makes like a full.
Oh, no, the dust
poster
covers.
image?
I never keep the dust covers. So if you saw my last movie, Power Rangers, and I'm talking about the new Power Rangers, the 2017 Power Rangers, you also remember seeing an ad, a 2-hour ad for Krispy Kreme donuts, including a particularly important plot point towards the end of the film that basically takes place in a Krispy Kreme donuts. The blatant product placement was actually not intended to be product placement. So the director actually came out after there was a ton of backlash about the product placement from Krispy
How
Kreme.
often was, because I never saw this movie, how often was Krispy Kreme from like beginning to end? Because clearly end is a lot, but like beginning, like are they talking about Krispy Kreme? Are the kids like, oh, let's go to the Krispy Kreme?
No,
afterwards?
they're not talking about. So like the hangout is the Krispy Kreme.
Okay.
The spot where one of the battles takes place is on a corner where a Krispy Kreme is, and the logo's in the shot the entire time.
Is the hot donuts light on?
I don't remember. I'm not sure.
Okay. Damn. Okay.
And the
Getting excited a little bit.
the center point of the movie, the Zoe crystal, is hidden under a Krispy Kreme, so it needs to be destroyed to get the crystal from underneath the Krispy Kreme.
Right.
So I would say, all in all, I couldn't find like specifics on how long it was in the movie, but
it's a main plot point.
yeah, if I had to guess, I would say 20 minutes of the movie like features Krispy Kreme in one way or another.
Okay.
So the director said that they were looking for a place to hide the crystal under, and they were filming in Vancouver. So they were looking for like landmarks or bridges or something that they could hide the stone under, or the crystal or the gem. They were looking for somewhere to hide it under. So they started coming up with ideas, and they were throwing around Subways and McDonald's and pretty much any kind of fast food or random place. And
Timmy Ho-Ho's.
they settled on Krispy Kreme because they thought it was so random and obscure that it would be kind of a funny addition to the movie. But the way that they featured Krispy Kreme was like blatant. Like once they got the go ahead from Krispy Kreme, they just were just like, all right, every scene that we can get it in, we'll have a Krispy Kreme.
You know what this reminds me of a little bit is the IHOP in Man of Steel.
Yeah,
'Cause,
it's
like,
basically that.
The whole fight scene is like in the IHOP, like in the booths, and even like the IHOP manager is like, "Oh, here's your silver dollar pancakes" or something. I'm sure that's not actually what he says or is a scene, but goddamn, like yeah, I hate that shit. I just hate it.
Yeah, so
because they have the special Superman menu or the special Power Rangers. Didn't Krispy Kreme have Power Rangers donuts?
They did, yes.
Okay.
So that was the bargaining chip that Krispy Kreme used with Power Rangers. So they made a cross promotion with Power Rangers. They allowed the studio to use Krispy Kreme in the movie for free as long as they could do some cross promotion. So they came out with some Power Ranger themed donuts. They hosted a sweepstakes to San Francisco for a trip to San Francisco for whatever reason. I'm hoping that that's where the premiere was or something, or it's just like, here's a trip to San Francisco.
Is that where it's supposed to take place?
I kind of.
Isn't it like a California, like
I always thought it was like an
suburb?
LA suburb.
Okay.
Because it's in the movie, the town is Angel Grove, and
Right, that's like where they actually live.
everything, even in the movie, in this recent movie, everything in the movie is really generic, like very, very generic. So the fact that you get like, instead of Coke, you have like cola and stuff, and then it's like,
so everything's like off-brand, and then Krispy Kreme is
yeah,
like all
Krispy
over it.
Kreme's in there, so it's like so blatant. Like they got no other product placement, no other company. It's just like, here's Krispy Kreme. Insane how they did it, but from what the director said, it wasn't necessarily intentional to go the product placement route for money necessarily, but just to have like a funny place to put the stone and have the end of the movie happen at.
I feel like a Krispy Kreme isn't that of a crazy, like, fast food or whatever franchise. I feel like you need to go to like underneath like the Del Taco or something.
That's
you
what
know?
I'm thinking. Something really decrepit and disgusting.
Or the Jack in the Box, you know?
Yeah, or just like a Arby's or a Dairy Queen. Like,
Oh my god. Yes to Dairy Queen. Oh my lord.
yeah, that's maybe because Krispy Kreme was such an obscure thing. Because Krispy Kreme had a roller coaster of a life.
It did.
They went bankrupt for a little while. They came back, and
The
went
hot donut
bankrupt, and then they
sign
came
was
back
off.
again. So, John, before we close things up, I have one last question for you.
Oh shit, you have the question today.
I have the question this week. John, what is the best use of product placement in one of these movies? TiVo with Tropic Thunder, Wilson with Castaway, Pizza Hut with Wayne's World, or Pepsi with Twister?
The
The Twister thing is insane.
I thought you were going to go with steak and eggs.
Steak and eggs with Twister.
I don't remember the Pepsi Twister.
So I know you remember it because you have to remember the part where they're screwing on the shards of the cans onto the Dorothy 2 or 3 little balls.
Okay. Yeah.
All of those cans are Pepsi, Diet Pepsi, and Mountain Dew.
The Pepsi product.
Yep. So it's blatant Pepsi product placement there.
Damn. I'm actually gonna throw TiVo as my pick because
I would agree.
because it's honestly like one of those things that I'm not mad at because I'm pretty sure TiVo was dead in the fucking
Yeah.
graveyard when this movie came out, and it just goes to show like how stupid the request is of the TiVo because like no one uses it, but for some reason Tug Speedman needs a TiVo.
That's what I find so great about the product placement for TiVo is not only does Tug Speedman need one, but the lengths that Matthew McConaughey's character goes to get him the TiVo by flying to the tropical, I don't even know where they Cambodia or something like that. Flies to Cambodia in a war zone, tries to deliver the TiVo. I think that's the best use of product placement.
And the TiVo saves them all from an RPG.
That is true.
So, I mean, like, yes. What were the previous examples? Because I don't think any of them had that much of an impact, honestly.
Wilson with Castaway.
Ooh.
Wayne's World, Pizza Hut, and Twister with Pepsi. Castaway's a good one because Wilson is like his best friend. He loses it.
Yeah.
You have a super dramatic scene where he's like crying because he lost his beach ball or his volleyball.
It saves him from insanity, I think.
Losing it? or having it?
No, having it.
Okay.
Or losing it too, honestly. He was just like, oh, fuck, what am I doing? That was a ball. Like, snap out of it, Tom Hanks. So actually, I'm going to say losing it would probably save him from his So yeah, that ball was really an evil forces.
The ball was his anchor on the island. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. No, I'm going with TiVo 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for sticking around. As always, if you want to give us a shout or you want some more movie mayhem in your life, give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook for all your Wicked Hot news and status updates. And if you want to catch up more on some other platforms, you can, because we can be found wherever podcasts are. And if you've got a new phone, don't have iTunes, drop it on the Android. Get ready for some more movie mayhem in 2 weeks, guys.
Bye, everybody.